Okay, it's 7 o'clock, and we have a public hearing scheduled for 7 o'clock for the 2020 preliminary budget. Sue, would you read the public hearing notice?
Please take notice that the town board of the town of Wilton, New York, county of Saratoga, will hold a public hearing on the preliminary budget for the town of Wilton for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2020. Said public hearing will be held on Thursday, November 7th, 2019 at 7 p.m. at Wilton Town Hall, located on 22 Traver Road in said town, at which time all persons will be given the opportunity to be heard. Said preliminary budget will be completed and filed in the office of the town clerk of the town of Wilton at 22 Traver Road, where it may be examined by any interested person during regular business hours.
Okay, so before I open the public hearing, the budget has been, we introduced it last month. It has been on the website and available in the town clerk's office. So I will now open up public hearing for public comment as on the 2020 budget. We do have one person that has signed up so far, and that's Eric Rosenberg.
Good evening, Eric Rosenberg, 16 Craw Lane. A necessary part of the budgeting process is planning. Our highway department represents approximately $3.5 million of a total $8.4 million budget, with cost to repair and replace our roads representing a large part of our budget. Good. At a recent town board meeting, a question was asked by one of our citizens regarding the schedule for road replacement and repair in Wilton. Cornell Local Roads Program 2016 Road Condition Report commissioned by our town was mentioned. The plan addressed the condition of every road in Wilton and provided a specific plan for the replacement and or repair of our roads. When questioned about the report, our highway superintendent, along with members of our town board, stated that this report was being used only as a guideline. When pressed further for the existence of a definitive plan or schedule for the replacement and repair of our roads, it became clear that there was none. The question is why? Why did the town commission and pay for this study and then choose to use it only as a guideline? There must be a reason. From what many residents have witnessed, the answer seems to be that certain neighborhoods get preferred treatment when it comes to road repairs and replacement. The board members can deny this, but it would only add insult to injury because we know it happens. When town officials let things like this happen, when preference is given to something or someone, it always comes at a cost to something or someone else. Always. When roads in a non-preferred neighborhood are not replaced or repaired on a timely basis, the cost of replacement or repair becomes greater at a cost borne by the citizens of Wilton. When roads are allowed to deteriorate in non-preferred neighborhoods beyond what is acceptable, they become more dangerous to those using the roads. When a child who lives in a non-preferred neighborhood rides his or her bicycle on roads with cracks and potholes that have not been repaired on a timely basis, it is more likely that the child will be injured by running over one of these potholes or cracks. How much longer are things like this going to happen in Wilton? The members of this board can continue to look away, can continue to label me a troublemaker, and continue their course of harassment against me, but I am not the problem. What I hope is that the members of this board take responsibility for representing all of the citizens of Wilton equally and require our highway superintendent to prepare a definitive plan for the replacement and repair of our roads consistent with the Cornell study. To do otherwise would be irresponsible. Thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't realize there was a sign up for that.
Yeah, you want to speak? Yeah.
I had some questions. I have tried to contact Leah before. I'm busy. Weeks ago I left you a message, but that's all right. I had questions regarding one for public safety. It looks like we have safety officer, a police, traffic control at $88,000, dog control and crossing guard for a total of $139,700. I'm wondering if if that is our only safety, and if so, where does anything else come from as far as police protection, which may or may not be a question for our budget. Another question I had was 2019 general fund. The balance is projected to drop $615,000 and change. That suggests to me, and I may be wrong, that our balanced budget, meaning no taxes, is dipping into and decreasing our general fund, which means we're overspending what we originally intend to. And it has been bringing down our general fund, which I believe several years ago, and I didn't have time to look that up, was closer to 8 million. Now we're down to 6 and change, 6.5 million maybe. That concerns me, and I'm not sure if it should. And Gavin Park has a cost of about 1.1 million, brings in, from what I can tell, a revenue of about 530,000. So is a net cost to us of about 600,000. And then the other question I had was vehicles. What vehicles, other than the highway department, what vehicles do we own for our town?
Let me first, I'll address the public safety issue. The primary law enforcement is the county sheriff's department, which is funded through the county taxes. You pay. And we do have a substation here at Wilton Mall, which we do not fund other than paying for their internet and phone, I think. So, and we do have it's the state police barracks in town. That does not cost us anything, but they respond to a call as required. But primarily, it's the county sheriff's department, which is for all the Saratoga County towns, and they fund it through the county tax that you pay. I'll just I'll leave some of those other questions to you.
Mayor, can I just ask a clarifying question on that?
Yeah.
Because some towns and villages have their own police department. So do all the towns and villages then if we pay that through our county taxes, are towns and villages that have their own police department basically paying for two different police departments, or is the cost borne unequally between towns that have their own police and towns that do not have their own police?
Yeah, if the village, some of these little smaller villages choose to have their own police force, and they pay for that. Sometimes some towns, I think some of the bigger towns like Half Moon and Clifton Park, pay an additional funds and pay over and above their county tax to have additional patrols. We tried that years ago, and it didn't really seem to be all that effective or worthwhile to do that.
My question, though, is those people pay, does everybody in Saratoga County pay equally for the county police, and then they just pay on top of that for their local
Yes,
police?
that's correct.
Thank you.
The sheriff's office is on our campus?
I'm sorry, where?
Sheriff's location?
Wilton Mall has a substation.
Wilton Mall.
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, they, the mall gives them free space, but we paid for part of their setup to have them here, and we do pay for their, I think, their internet and their phone, right? So there's a whole list, so I don't know.
I can certainly start to speak to some of the other questions concerning public safety. We do have a dog control officer that Nancy thoughtfully raised questions about what's in our public safety budget. Dog control officer is one of those items, on a part-time salaried basis. We also have traffic safety, signs, so forth. We do not have personal service related to police presence, as you've gathered from the answers you've already gotten. So I think that covers the public safety, but certainly if any other questions come to mind, please feel free to email me. That is the best way to reach me. I did get your message while I was away at a conference, and when I came back, it was just swamped. So, yeah. So please feel free to email me. Then you went and talked about the general fund balance decreasing, and we have experienced surpluses over the years, which is a good thing. And using that fund balance is not necessarily a bad thing. You can see across the way, we have our town court building that's being renovated, so we've used fund balance, and we would actually be negligent in our duties if we didn't start using some of that available fund balance. We don't want to let it accumulate to a point where we're like, well, what do we do with this money? So we're using it in accordance with needs that the town has.
So those are specific, above and beyond our general
You said that
budgetary.
very well, exactly. These are one-time uses for surpluses. It's not to cover the cost of personal service or any other the normal recurring expenses that we have. That would signify a weakness in the budget. Yes, very good questions.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
And Art, can I
What
ask-
vehicles do we own other than our highway department fleet of trucks and
So
machines?
our building department has a pickup truck. We have, our engineer has a Ford Explorer, and these are necessary in order to travel to various sites that have issues. You know, when our residents call and say, I have a downed tree, or there's water accumulating in my backyard, we need people to be able to go and see those
Right.
things. Our building department has vehicles to go to the various locations that, you know, serviced by the town as well.
And I guess my question is more along the lines of, because I know the engineer's vehicles being replaced this year from being at the budget hearing, but it's more along the lines of you start hearing coming up from Albany and getting asked questions by reporters of, well, are you moving to an electric fleet? I'm like, oh, we don't have a fleet of cars. So that's why I'm asking, like, or do we, that I don't know about? So,
We have a couple of cars, right? We have, like I said, the pickup truck and the...
yeah, but that's not
It's not a
really
fleet,
electric. Well, we're
right?
not really electric capable at this point in time.
No, we don't.
Yeah, Art, could I also have an answer to my question?
What was it?
Why we are using the Cornell report only as a guideline and why we are
That's
not
it.
using it? Well, I assume I'm supposed to address my comments to the board, so I will. So why we are using it only as a guideline, which was what was stated, and not following it and letting people know, hey, your community is scheduled to be replaced or repaired X? I mean, don't you think that's a wise planning and budgeting tool?
Yeah.
And people ask this question all the time. Shouldn't people know when their community is being taken care of?
Yeah, I'll just give my opinion. We contracted with Cornell. We had an intern go and evaluate the roads, but I think it's ultimately...
A tool for us.
Okay.
Yeah, let me
It was
just
a
finish.
tool for us, but it ultimately comes down to the highway superintendent.
But there is no plan, unless I misunderstood. So my question really is, why isn't there a specific plan that says...
I think there is a plan.
Well, there was no, it wasn't said so when the issue was addressed last time. There was, well, we use this as a guideline, but there was, I mean, can someone go in and look at a list of all of our roads and see the next 5 to 10 years, which roads are scheduled for replacement and repair over this period of time?
I don't think it's that far in advance, but Kirk, I'll let Kirk address that because he's the one that makes those decisions. But the Cornell thing was I think it was very done, and they evaluated the surface of the roads and all that kind of stuff. But priorities change, and that's the ultimate decision of the highway superintendent. So, but he does have a plan, and Kirk, if you just want to talk about it briefly, I don't want to get into any huge thing. I know you do have a plan, and you evaluate the roads every year, and you come up with a repaving plan. Go ahead, Kirk.
There is a plan, Mr. Supervisor, and that plan was designed by Cornell, one of the resident engineers, and it was corresponding through my office and Cornell. And in that plan, it says, and I wish I had it, it's in my office, but Wilton has some of the best roads there are in the surrounding communities. It's stated right in that plan in black and white. That is only a guide to go by. It's not written in stone. There's numerous areas in this town that change from time to time due to traffic situations and other entities that come into play. That's what we try to follow. The plan, work with that plan to the benefit of the residents. The town board has supported our program. I work with our town engineer. He goes out and looks different scenarios over. So there is a plan. If somebody is thinking that because we got to pave Traver Road tomorrow, okay, that might change. It's only a plan to work with, period, and that's what it is according to the funds that the town wants to put in our infrastructure, period.
Do you feel that study was a waste of money?
Do I feel like what?
That study that we,
Absolutely not.
thank you, you didn't throw it in the garbage, right?
It's a very good plan. And Wilton is not the only one who was ever involved in that. Wilton Spa was involved in it, and through numerous other towns, and they use it the same way that we do. But I'll also say that in that plan, and the town board knows what town law is for the highway superintendent. The highway superintendent goes out and picks and chooses those roads that he thinks need repair because I'm on the roads all the time. It's not Art Johnson going out and saying, well, wait a minute, you got to fix North Road. He doesn't have the information, maybe, I don't want to deny him anything, but he might not have the information that I have. So we go with that, we talk about it and say, okay, wait a minute, we've had 10,000 cars on this road, we had 1,000 cars on this road. You have to prioritize. But also, in some aspects of it all, there is a point in time that tells you in that program that don't spend a lot of money on it, wait to rehab the road, so you can do total reconstruction on it. So that's, and I have read that pamphlet, that booklet, I've read that probably 4 times word for word.
Yeah, our commitment now is to fund the highway department to keep our roads in good repair and safe. But we rely on our highway superintendent to make those decisions, and I think he's done that. And I think the use of the Cornell program is a good tool for him to look at, because it did assess the quality of the roads. But as Kirk said, things change. But as far as this budget goes, we've been funding the highway department to what he needs to keep our roads up to date and safe. And we leave it to him to determine which roads are going to be done. So.
Thank you.
Any other didn't sign up that has any questions on the budget? Okay, see none, so I'll close the public hearing. All right, I'll now call to order the regular monthly town board meeting for November 7th. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Supervisor Johnson?
Here.
Councilman Stryker?
Here.
Councilman Bogardus?
Here.
Deputy Supervisor Lamp?
Here.
Councilman McEachran?
Here.
Okay, before we get into the actual agenda here, this town board has always had the practice of recognizing individuals in the community that volunteer and give up their time for the benefit of the community and play a significant role in enhancing the improvements of the town of Wilton and the quality of life in Wilton. And tonight we have one of those individuals with us, and I'd like to ask John Rosner to step up. John Rosner has served on the Wilton Park and Recreation Commission for 14 years. He's been chairman for the last how many?
I don't recall.
It's a tough job, and he's done a tremendous job in making the improvements in the park and supporting the programs and actually coming up with new programs to that enhance the recreation experience at Gavin Park. And it's important that we recognize volunteers, such as yourself, that give their time for no pay to do those things. So it's an honor for me to present you this plaque, and I'll just read it. It's presented to John Rosner by the Wilton Town Board in recognition of your dedication contribution and loyal service while serving on the Park and Recreation Commission. Your 14 years as a member and chairman have proven your allegiance to your position in the town of Wilton. Best wishes in your future endeavors, and as all town board members. Thank you very much.
I just want to say thank you first to the town board, especially Steve Stryker. Steve has been the liaison for a long time. It's been a pleasure working with him. I'd also like to call out Lynette, who has been my partner on the rec commission for 14 years plus, right, Lynette? The support from the town to the park, and I really feel that Gavin Park has become a center point for the town of Wilton. It's grown. It's been a great place. It's been an honor to serve the town as well as the town board and the people of Wilton. I'd like to also recognize Mark Daly, who was instrumental in bringing the Christopher Daly gym to the town. So it's all great. I really appreciated all the support, and thank you.
Thank you.
Good job. Very good.
So we begin the agenda as usual with a public comment session. We have a couple of people who signed up. Eric Rosenberg, we'll begin with you.
So here you go.
We recently had a situation here in Wilton that was very unfortunate, and I submit resulted from a systemic problem in the way our zoning code is enforced, or should I say, not enforced. The Crest Inn was recently shut down by the Department of Health because the property was deemed uninhabitable. My question is, where was the zoning officer in all of this? Properties don't get in this condition overnight. How does something like this happen? In Wilton, there's no excuse. As I have previously submitted, when town officials let things like this happen, when preference is given to something or someone, or when town officials and employees fail or refuse to comply with state laws and our Wilton code, it always comes at a cost to something or someone else. Always. In this case, some of our most vulnerable citizens were forced to find new housing. They paid the price of our zoning officer failing to do his job and making sure that this property was kept up to habitable standards. They paid the price for this town board refusing to hold our zoning officer accountable. The question is, why is this allowed to continue? There are many examples of our zoning officer failing to do his job, and I have made this town board aware of this, yet the members of this town just ignore my comments. The members of this board just don't seem to care. Once again, I ask, why do you accept and allow what is not acceptable? And there are many examples, but I'd like to mention one more. The tenant at 3 Parkhurst Road continues to operate an unlicensed auto repair shop in a residential neighborhood with all of the dangerous equipment and other activities that should not be allowed in a residential neighborhood. In fact, I went to a couple of the court hearings, and it seems our zoning officer is actually helping him keep this illegal operation going. Why should the citizens in this neighborhood have to tolerate the mess and the danger created by this property? They're paying a price. It has been suggested by some that things need to stay just the same in Wilton as they've always been. However, Wilton is not the same town it was 20 or 30 years ago. Today's Wilton faces the challenge of growth, increasing development, and many other issues that face towns in today's world. While adhering to the past may give one a warm and fuzzy feeling, that is not the reality of the upcoming challenges facing Wilton and our region. Now, as I have previously stated, the members of this board can continue to look away, can continue to label me a troublemaker, and continue their course of harassment against me. But I am not the problem. What I would hope is that the members of this board take responsibility for representing all the citizens of Witt equally and require our zoning officer to comply with New York laws and our ordinances regarding zoning enforcement. There is no need to start from scratch. This booklet provides a base, and I brought this up many, many times, and I can tell you...
Your time's up, Eric.
One last comment, just quick. We are so far away from what New York says we should be doing that we effectively have no zoning enforcement. It's not me, it's New York.
Yeah, okay, that's great. We have the minutes pending from our October meet. Oh, I'm sorry, there was another, Margaret Damo. Sorry.
Good evening, my name is Margaret Damo. I live at 2 Craw Lane. Beginning our 3rd year living in Wilton. My husband and I retired here from the Bronx, if you can't tell from my accent. We certainly enjoy living here, and we're very pleased, and I'd like to thank you and congratulate you all, one, for your service, and two, the newly elected officials. I have a couple of questions. The power outages that happen, I don't understand why they happen. If it happens during a storm, I totally get it. But today at 4:30, the power went out for an hour, and it wasn't even raining. So is it something that's regarding our town, or is it National Grid? Because if it's National Grid, you know, I'll fight with them as a Bronxite will. But out of the past 8 days, we've lost power 5 days. And I just thought I would ask. Number two, I'd like to thank the Highway Commissioner and the town. I saw you guys working day and night doing the entrance and the exits in Traver Road before the winter comes and replacing it, and I truly appreciate that. I think it's great. Guys from Gavin, coming from the Bronx, we play in parks. So here we have this great facility to go to. We've been walking there. I learned to play pickleball. I'd like to put out, how do I go about asking about putting in a bocce court there? There's a lot of land, and you know, we play. So if that's an opportunity, if I need to fill out a form, maybe someone could advise me, you know, the path to go. And one final thing, because we had this in the city, the elections are over, the electioneering signs are up. Do we take them down, or do the elected officials who put them up take them down? Because they're all over, and they had their point and their place. I was just wondering if you know, we take them down off our properties or the corners and stuff. I would.
They'll be there to get them.
Pardon?
Picking them up.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the town code's 5 or 7 days, whatever,
Okay.
so.
5 days.
And the candidates always comply with that, so
Okay.
they should be gone, and if they're not,
Power outages are not so common in this town. As a fireman, seeing a lot of neighboring towns, our town's pretty lucky when it comes to power outages. I understand this last one was probably the longest one I've seen in a long time, but the neighboring, I had guests for 4 days.
Oh, no, I understand.
You know, when I went home tonight, I live on Woodard, there's a substation, there was a National Grid. They could have been, you know, they don't know us, but they could have been changing something over, right, Mark?
They had a fire.
They had a problem with a line going through from that substation to Malta.
Okay.
They had to switch over here.
And as far as your 1 hour today, there's still people without power. In order to hook this person back up, they got to shut the power that goes down that direction so they can safely rehook the house to it.
Okay.
So we'll, even for the next week, we'll probably have intermittent outages for an hour or so. I had the same thing.
Well,
yeah.
that's great. I'll tell my neighbors, because we're all texting each other trying to figure out, you know, what's going on, because we're in a new development. We don't know if it's, you know, related to us or it's
It's
really
rare up
town.
here.
It's rare. It's rare in this
Okay.
town.
this was one of the problems. I was out for 2 days. I know it was right, that was not too far from
All
you,
right.
so.
Well,
It isn't rare on Woodard Road, but that's dead end.
But, you know, you gotta give National Grid a little bit of slack. They got, I mean, it was in the northern part of the county, most of their crews were, I mean, they had devastating type outages and infrastructure. I mean, we're lucky to have only been a short period of time without power.
I
but-
bought a generator 6 years ago, and it's probably no good, because it hasn't been run in probably at least 6 years.
All right. Well, thank you again very much.
Yeah, Karen?
I noticed you have a smartphone, and National Grid has a reporting app, and really, we all should be, when the power goes out, you should report it, and they will send you automated text messages, or in some cases, call you in the middle of the night and tell you the power is down or on. So, and everything Dwayne said is true. They were taking down, they had to repair, they're going to be repairing for a couple weeks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I went to the Hampton.
There's places in Greenfield that's not going to have power for a few.
I went over and got some, I tried to get dry ice, but the truck.
Okay, that's all for public comments. So we have minutes pending from our October meeting. Is there a motion to approve the October minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve last month's minutes.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any requests for changes or modifications? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Okay, 2020 preliminary budget. We had a public hearing earlier at 7 o'clock. The budget was submitted. We had workshops, and I think based on feedback, it seems everybody's very happy with the budget. So unless there are any other questions, I would entertain a motion to formally adopt the 2020 preliminary budget.
I'll make the motion that we adopt the 2020 preliminary budget.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions on the budget by the board? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. Again, I want to thank everyone involved, and particularly Maria. She did a great job putting this budget together, and to all of you for your input and ideas and suggestions. And I think it's a good budget. Again, no taxes, and we got some, programs going forward that will additionally enhance Wilton residents. So I'm very happy about that, and
I think the wording of the motion was adopting the preliminary budget. You're adopting the preliminary budget as the final budget.
yes.
Is that what I said?
Yes. So, again, thank you all involved, and thank you for all the department heads too. Marcus here, Tina, and others, Ryan, obviously, that, they just do a tremendous job in putting together only the things they need, and that's why we can remain our no tax status.
No, great job.
Health insurance benefits, who's taking care of that? You?
Yes, so these were part of our organizational resolutions in January, but they were moved to November because the employees' health insurance coverage starts on December 1st.
All right, typically they would have been in our January organization meetings, but they moved up the enrollment date a month, isn't that?
Yes, so, yeah.
So item 6, you have the resolution before you that would approve those.
Needs to be read?
No.
No.
Good. That just needs a motion
Yes,
to accept it?
Yes, please.
Make a motion to accept the health insurance benefits as written.
Second it.
Okay, any questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So moved.
And the next one is for the health rate, the HRA agreement.
Is that here?
Yes, it's also there, and it can be done the same way.
Number 7.
The HRA is where we fund part of the deductible for employees.
Right. Same as last year.
No, actually, we're funding a little bit more this year.
Oh, good. We're allowed to?
Yeah.
They were allowed to, yes.
It went from 50 to 75%.
I'll make a motion to accept the health reimbursement arrangement.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Mrs. Moran, are most of the employees happy with what you did for them?
I think so, yes.
It should be 99.9, right?
Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
I've got a lot of positive feedback from some employees from the highway department that we increased the HRA.
We finally did something right.
Question in the back. Way in the back.
I'm sorry, am I allowed to ask a question? I don't know. Can you just explain what that is? You said you reimburse your employees?
I'll try and explain it if I don't cover it right. There's the deductible with our health insurance program where the employees have to meet a certain amount of deductible. Well, we fund a portion of that so they can go and they get a card and they can go to swipe for drugs and or co-pays and those things to help offset their out-of-pocket costs. I don't know if I'm explaining.
How many people does that cover?
Well, all the employees. 50 or so.
Oh, just the town, just you people?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, the
okay, I'm
employee,
thinking like every town of Wilton employee.
You and your husband?
I'm in.
I'll take that one.
Okay, thank you. Great, you guys get over.
No, it's not us. It's not us.
Your way of thinking, though.
So do we pass that or not?
Not yet.
Yeah, we made a motion.
And second, okay, so we'll vote.
We didn't vote on it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Okay, next, Saratoga County Multi-Jurisdictional All Hazard Mitigation Plan Update. My understanding of this is, it's a county plan. We participated in putting the Wilton portion into it. I think actually Larry Gordon did a lot of it. Ryan, you probably know more. But I think what they're requiring is each town to endorse the countywide plan. And so the County Emergency Services Director is asking us to pass the resolution adopting the county jurisdictional all-hazard mitigation plan.
Does this have to be read or just make a motion
No,
to pass it?
Let's make a motion.
you can read it if you want. No, you don't have to.
What do you think of this plan, Ryan?
It was proposed to the county with Larry Gordon, so it was last year, and just going through the process. We have a new person who's our emergency coordinator, and he's working with the county now with this program. Basically, we created maps, designated hazard areas, like the railroad tracks.
Safe zones.
Safe zones, any gas stations and things like that. It's just a process to go through, so according to the county.
I'll make a motion, we adopt the resolution for the Saratoga County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan Update.
I'll second that. Motion and a second. Any questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved.
Or Ryan, where will that be? Is it accessible by anyone in the county, any resident of the county?
I believe so. It's on the county website, I believe.
Should be.
It is on it.
It is on it. It is on it.
Well, last year's is there, this is the updated
Right.
version.
The update is there.
Oh, the updated's there as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
County website.
And I think we had to use it once, didn't we? We used it for
We've used
propane,
it.
propane thing.
Yes.
So it works.
I think the update included all the crude oil transportation, stuff like that, mitigations.
Good.
Committee reports. Anybody got committee reports?
Yeah, what the heck. The courthouse is still moving along. It is what it is. It's supposed to be done the second week of November, so I've been told next week. Basically, we're waiting. They put a new front entrance on it, so they're waiting for the glass and the framing to be installed. Then the exterior just has some small little finishing touches to do, and then the in-house town crew is working on doing the walls and the interior of the building, the air conditioning and all that stuff. That's as far as the court building. I would also personally like to thank Mark Mikens and the dog control officer. There was a fire in the town of Wilton on Saturday evening into Sunday, I believe it was. We had an aggressive dog that was biting firemen. Our dog control officer showed up and took control of that dog in a very timely manner. Our building inspector was there to help with some legal stuff that we had because the fire was not determined, the cause hasn't been determined, so we used him as a resource to guide us as the emergency services side, to guide us in the right direction so we didn't contaminate any evidence or anything like that, and he provided condemned signs and stuff like that. He worked with the county investigators on trying to come up with the cause of the fire. And again, dog control officer, thank God he was there. He did some firemen and the deputy and the great resource I have for the town engineer, the town building code inspector. Thank you. That's it.
Anyone else?
Yeah. This past week we had that storm, no power. I've been involved in many of them, my years of fire service. I know it takes a lot out of that person, their family. I think it'd be nice if we put on our Facebook and webpage, thank Wilton Fire, Maple Avenue Fire, the EMS, National Grid, and their subs. Who's their tree guy? Asplin, you call them?
S&D or what do you call it?
You got State Police, Sheriff's Department, Wilton Highway worked around the clock. The people passed the dry ice out. I don't know if National Grid did that or who, but I think it'd be nice if we get that all on our Facebook. And maybe like the two fire departments, the sheriff, National Grid, and State Police, even send them a thank you letter for a great job they did. They did work around the clock.
Good idea.
Good. Anyone else? I just have one item. Our December meeting, I know there's a conflict with another event for some of us. I'd like to move the meeting time up to 6 o'clock. If no one has a problem with that, we'll certainly make it known on our website and elsewhere.
I'll have to get out of work early.
So, is that okay?
Just go in early.
All right, that sounds like a plan.
So,
I got out at 11:30 last night.
So, if that's not a problem for everyone, then
I have no issues.
we'll take care of some of our conflicts and
Should we vote on that?
just make sure that everybody, the public knows that the meeting time has changed. All right, Maria, Controllers Report?
Yes. So we have a list of budget transfers, and just wanted to make the point that as we're moving toward the end of the year, we're working toward cleaning up balances that we have surplus in some lines and deficits in some others. So that's why the lists are getting a little longer now. And I especially want to point out that the first item is not the result of overtime that was unnecessary. It's overtime that occurred during a very busy season for the Assessor's Department, where they normally have overtime because they're mandated by law to stay open on a weekend for grievances and at night as well, one of the nights that they have to stay. So they incurred some overtime, and we just want to start, like I said, realigning the balances so that we're kind of cleaning up for the end of the year. And all of the remaining ones that you see are, again, just the same concept where we're just doing some cleanup, moving balances from one place to another.
Kurt, you didn't use all your money on Lowe's Drive? 480 road. Not much there. You use most of it there.
So, you got a lot of transfers there. Is there any questions of Maria?
No,
Please feel free.
I put forth a motion to accept the 2019 budget transfers for November.
1 through 15.
1 through 15.
And second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
Personnel. Bill Dowd is our Highway Department laborer, and he had submitted his letter of resignation effective yesterday, November 6th, and the board should accept Bill's resignation.
I'll make a motion that we accept Mr. Dowd's resignation from the Town Highway Department.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved.
Related to Bill Dowd's resignation, which creates a vacancy in the full-time labor position, we have a part-timer, Jason Urbanowitz, who is ready to move into that spot if the board agrees. He would be starting at the Step 2 rate of $15.84 an hour. Step 2, because he's already earning $15.75 an hour as a part-timer, so we don't want to give him a decrease in pay for accepting an increase in responsibility. So that's why he is proposed to start at the Step 2 rate.
I'll make a motion to
Good, Kurt?
appoint Jason, I said that name?
Urbanowitz.
Urbanowitz, full-time in the Highway Department.
Mike's son.
I'll second it.
Okay, you have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Had you been that kid in the 5th grade?
I knew him in the 5th grade.
Probably your cousin.
My brother's best friend.
Okay, next.
Did we get it?
Yeah.
Okay. So Mark Marino is requesting board approval for the hire of Timothy Doyle, effective November 12th. He is proposed to fill the full-time maintenance worker position that was vacated by Steve Vance.
Where's Tim? Didn't Steve Vance come?
He came here.
Yeah, he came to the Highway Department.
Came to the building department. Building maintenance.
He works with Scott.
Yeah.
Where's Tim Doyle from?
He's new.
Where's he live?
I don't know.
Does anybody know where he lives?
I think Timothy Doyle is in Saratoga Springs.
Okay.
No one from Wilton applied for the job?
I believe that it was very hard to find somebody for that position.
I thought I was told there was a person Wilton applied for.
That's what I thought.
It might have been a reason why.
I don't know anybody.
I don't know who he interviewed or any, this is his recommendation. There's no residency requirement.
No, I just wondered.
Well, you know, I think in the future that any of these employees get hired in town, 1 or 2 board members sit on it, so we know who we're voting on or hiring. You should be part of the interview.
Did you?
No, not the GH, between the GH.
We'll see if that happens.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I don't know.
No, I'm asking if you did.
No, I didn't interview him.
I'll say sure. I just wondered if you did. I don't know.
I'll make the motion to hire Timothy Doyle to the Park Department, Parks and Rec Department.
I'll second it.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Motion carried.
Ryan Riper is requesting that the board approve the hire of Joshua Carlson for the full-time land use administrator position. And if the board approves it, Mr. Carlson will be hired at the grade 9 base rate, and it would be effective December 2nd.
I'll make the motion that we hire Joshua Carlson to the land use manager administrator position that will work directly under Ryan.
Your planner, Ryan? Your planner?
I'll second it.
That's your planner? Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions, discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved.
Okay. The last item under personnel is Sue Baldwin is requesting town board approval to travel for a conference on December 8th.
I make a motion to allow Mrs. Baldwin to travel for the conference, December 8th, 2019.
I'll second that.
No casinos by there, is there? All right.
Oh, yes.
Where is it?
In town.
Oh,
Just have a foot surgery.
okay. You didn't even have to request, it's not overnight, you don't need to. Okay, all in favor of Sue's request for travel, approval for travel to a conference on December 8th?
Aye.
Okay, aye.
So the next item is under the heading of Other, and Mr. Woodcock, our highway superintendent, is requesting town board approval to put items on the auction, which are listed here.
We sold truck 61.
Is that going on Auctions International, Kurt, or
Yes.
6 tires and wheels, or they?
Doesn't hurt, I guess.
All right.
Is it a package deal?
I wonder if they're gonna buy the wood pile.
Been going every
They
time.
did the last time.
Did they?
This time of year, everybody's buying it.
Sounds good to me.
Aye.
I'll make the motion to approve that Kurt takes them following things to the auction.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
Okay, and lastly, Mark Mikens is requesting town board approval to refund a portion of a garage permit application fee, as the applicant will not be proceeding with the planned construction.
Who's that?
Andrea Chun, I believe her name is. Andrea
A
Chun.
resident?
She's a resident, and she paid a fee when she...
Childs?
Chun,
Oh,
something to that, I have her name.
that's all right.
Is that something that we
Make it a motion.
typically do?
Refund their money.
We do?
Yeah. Is there a reason you're not refunding all of it, or just?
We're keeping a portion of it because we've already incurred admin fees related to review and processing.
Okay. So, any other questions? We have a second? No. We have a
I'll
motion
second.
made by John, second by John McCacken. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? So moved.
Is that everything? Why is there an executive session?
Well, there's a couple of things.
Oh.
All right, so anyway, there are a couple of items, one regarding assessment litigation that needs to be addressed, a couple of personnel issues, and we need to go to adjourn to executive session for a short period.
I make a motion, we adjourn to the executive session.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Whatever you want. Whatever you guys want.
John, this is, I think you got, this is the assessment thing. With Birch Meadows.
No question.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, no question about it.
I'll keep one out here.
Mark, you're gonna go in and talk about the Crest Inn?
What?
Yeah. Karaoke night.
Did y'all go home and make dinner?
Today, I believe, was National Husband Cook Dinner Day.
Oh.
I think I heard that someplace.
Explains why I had beef roni.
I think I got all these different copies.
Yeah, we can just,
I picked up somewhere.
All right, you need a motion to go back into open session.
I make that motion.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we do have one resolution coming out of executive session, and that involves the assessment settlement. I want to read the resolution.
I'll make a motion that the town board hereby accept the proposed settlement for 2015, 16, 17, 18, and 19 tax proceeding filed by Birch Meadows LLC with the following terms. The 2015, 16, 17, and 18 assessed value of the subject property, parcel number 140-2-34, shall be reduced from 3.112.359 to 2.9 million. The 2019 assessed value of the subject property shall be reduced to 3 million and shall be subject to the terms of the real property tax law 727. And is further resolved that Birch Meadows shall be entitled to a refund of excess taxes paid based upon the above revision. And that the town board does hereby adopt this resolution to end the litigation between Birch Meadows LLC and the town of Wilton as to the above referenced assessment.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved.
Do they need a date on there?
Sue will take care of it. Okay, so that's the only action for executive session. A motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. All right.
Thanks for hanging around there, staff.
Thank you. We lost everybody else.
Supervisor?